Excellent. So this lightning talk is about various things I have done that involve madness with method calls. I did have a blog post called Madness with Methods years ago. Some of you may have read it. Don't worry, this is a different sort of crazy. Okay, so when you write code that does $obs foo, okay, that's looking up the method foo on the object and calling it. Nice and simple. $obs next colon method, right? Essentially, if you're writing DBIX class code, and that always dispatches C3. The thing is, right, that's a fully qualified method name. It's got a package name in it. What does that mean? That means it's actually sub-method in package next, but if you call it on any object, Perl dispatches against the package name you gave. So, curry.pm. How many times have you written that sort of callback code ref? All the time, especially if you're doing asynchronous stuff. Or, you know, pass some arguments as well as that underscore. So I got bored and decided to automate it. So what you do is you write an auto-loading package curry that makes the closure, and then you can just get a callback from $obs curry : foo. Because curry : sends it to that package, the foo hits the auto-load, that grabs the method name, presto, one subroutine to call. And you can pass arguments and it curries those in as well. There is also a curry weak foo for when you want a callback that doesn't keep the object alive. And again, that's trivial. Okay, next one. $obs $foo. Okay, we've all done this with a method name. The interesting thing is, it can be a code ref as well. At which point, I went, okay, how many times have you written if bless $obs and $obs can to avoid getting an exception from can? Well, stuff that. Safe : isa solves this problem nicely. What we do is, we write a $can code ref that checks blessed and then calls can, and we export it. At which point, you can just call $obs $can, and if $obs is undef, no exception, you just don't go into the if block. So much easier, and I also provides isa, does, call if object. So for pretty much all of those cases, it just works fine. Okay, importing. Importing is interesting, because, you know, you go require foo arrow import. Well, no, that's wrong. Doesn't work. Import methods almost always use callers, so you have to do goto, because goto's always a great idea, right? What if you've got two things to import? Well, you can call export to level, but that only works if it's using exporter. Worse still, pragmas. Strict and warnings affect the current compilation scope, not the caller. So you need to call strict arrow import. So you have two methods, one doesn't work for the other. So I went, what does work for both? Well, if you do an eval with package $caller and then call import, it works fine. But so at that point, the caller is correct for exporters, the compilation scope is right for pragmas, it all works. But you know, that's ugly. Almost as ugly as CGI.pm, right? However, sufficiently encapsulated ugly is indistinguishable from beautiful, so I wrote a module called import into, so I never have to look at that again. And instead, you just call arrow import : into, and it does the eval for you. You could also give it a caller level. Saves me a lot of time and pain. Works for modules, works for pragmas, provides an unimport, all nice and simple. And finally, if you see foo arrow bar, here's an interesting thing. If there is a foo subroutine in scope, Perl will call it and then call bar on the result. So that let me write JSON maybe XS. JSON maybe XS is a way of switching between JSON PP and cpanel JSON XS. Because JSON.pm itself is, oh my. If you look at the internals, I am not responsible for your therapy bill, okay? cpanel JSON XS, if anybody's heard of that, wonderful plan. It's cpanel's downstream fork, which means I get all of Mark Lehman's brilliance as a programmer, but I can talk to Rainy Urban instead. This makes my life much calmer. So JSON maybe XS defines a sub-JSON that returns the JSON class that's been selected and exports it. And in code, I can add use JSON maybe XS. The calls to JSON arrow new that I already have carry on working, and everything is just fine. So I did what? These four. They've all been on CBAM for a while. They've all had multiple releases. Hopefully they'll be useful. And hey, sufficiently encapsulated insanity is indistinguishable from a feature. Thank you very much.